Imagine a bird so small that it could be mistaken for a bee. A creature that looks like a spark suspended in the air, capable of moving its wings at a speed our eyes can barely follow. This being exists, and it lives exclusively in Cuba. Today we will explore the bee hummingbird, also called zunzuncito, colibri zunzuncito, picaflor, trovador, pájaro mosca, or elfo de las abejas. A jewel of evolution that turns every flight into a demonstration of precision and extreme energy. History and discovery. Although the smallest bird in the world is well known today, its scientific history began more than a century and a half ago. In the middle of the coffee plantations of Matanzas, on the banks of the Canamar River, a young German naturalist discovered a world that would mark him forever. Johannes Christoph Gundlach, later known as Juan Cristobal Gundlach, had arrived in Cuba in 1839, invited by his Cuban friend Carlos Booth, who was returning to his homeland after completing his studies in Germany. For Gundlach, the island quickly became a new emotional and scientific home. In 1844, while living at the estate El Refugio, near Cardenas, Gundlach recorded an event that would mark the natural history of Cuba and the entire world. The discovery of a tiny, almost unreal hummingbird with brilliant colors. Deeply moved by its delicacy and out of profound respect for Booth, he decided to dedicate the name to Booth's wife, Helena, who later died in 1850 during a cholera epidemic. Thus, he named the new hummingbird in his manuscripts as Ornithorhynchus helenae. However, Gundlach gave the discovery notes to the Spanish ornithologist Juan Lembeye, who ultimately described the species in the work Las Aves de Cuba, published in 1850, the very year Helena died. Here, I show you the cover of Lembeye's book. On page 69, as I show you between the red lines, Lembeye wrote, "We add to the known species a third one very similar to Ornithorhynchus anna of Lesson, from which it differs by its smaller size and bluish tints on the back." Mr. Juan Gundlach, who for more than 8 years has been part of the family of Mr. Carlos Booth, considering this new species the most precious of his acquisitions, dedicated it in his memoirs to the wife of this beloved friend, and with the generosity that distinguishes him, authorizes me to enrich my publication with it. The original description of the species, part of which I show you here, begins on page 70, while the only illustration representing it appears in plate 10, as you can see in this image. It is important to note that in Lembeye's original description, the type locality of the zunzuncito was not specified, nor was it mentioned in the prologue of his work. However, Wikipedia lists the type locality as Cardenas, Cuba, citing Avibase as the source. This record is ambiguous, since that database does not state where this information comes from. Furthermore, the original publication does not mention the deposit of type material nor its origin. Therefore, with the explicit information available in Lembeye's work, the type locality cannot be determined with certainty. It is possible, however, that additional data exist in field notebooks, museum labels, or deposited material from Gundlach, or even from Lembeye himself, that could clarify this issue, but I am not aware of any. In any case, this should be published in a scientific journal. If you have information on this, leave it in the comments. Distribution and habitat. The zunzuncito is a true endemic treasure. It exists only in Cuba and in the neighboring Isla de la Juventud. It inhabits dense forests, thickets, swamps, and areas with abundant mature vegetation, vines, and epiphytes. It also appears in gardens and human-modified areas, although it usually prefers natural environments with abundant cover. Its presence is closely tied to the availability of nectar-rich flowers. Morphology and sexual dimorphism. The size of this hummingbird is so extreme that it completely challenges our expectations of what a bird can be. Adults measure only between 5.5 and 6.1 centimeters and typically weigh around 1.6 to 1.8 grams, which makes it literally the smallest bird on the planet. However, some females may weigh close to 2.5 grams. The species shows marked sexual dimorphism. The male, slightly smaller than the female, displays bright red feathers on the head and neck that, depending on the angle of the light, can darken to almost black due to iridescence. The back shows an intense metallic blue, also iridescent, while the chest and belly are covered with whitish-gray feathers. The female, in contrast, has a bluish-green head, a chest of grayish-white tones, and small white spots on the tip of the tail. At first glance, It is not uncommon for many people to confuse males with insects due to their tiny size and the characteristic buzzing sound produced by their wings during flight. Reproduction. Bee hummingbirds reach sexual maturity at about 1 year of age. Their breeding season runs from March to June, and the female alone incubates the eggs for roughly 21 days. The Zunzuncido's nest is a true miniature feat of engineering. Measuring barely 3 centimeters in diameter, the female builds it from extremely fine plant fibers, reinforced and bound with spiderwebs, and attaches it almost always to thin, protected branches. In this small structure she lays 2 tiny eggs, only 11.1 millimeters long by 8.0 millimeters wide, among the smallest recorded in any bird species. Courtship is equally remarkable. The male performs vertical and horizontal flights at high speed, accompanied by wing beats that may reach up to 200 per second, a true record within the group. Males are known to be polygamous, although it is still unclear how many females a single male may mate with in one season. After reproduction, the species carries out local migrations, a behavior that still requires further study to understand its extent and pattern. Physiological adaptations and diet. Living at this scale requires pushing the body to its limits. At rest, the Zunzuncido's heart rate reaches up to 1,200 beats per minute. Its wings beat around 80 times per second during normal flight, and may reach 200 beats per second during courtship. Its metabolism is so fast that it must consume half of its body weight in food every day, mainly nectar, complemented by small insects and spiders for protein. In terms of water, it may ingest the equivalent of 8 times its body weight each day. Its body temperature is the highest among birds, around 40 degrees Celsius, and at night it can drop to 19 degrees Celsius in a state of torpor to avoid losing energy. Ecology and predators. Despite its size, the bee hummingbird plays a fundamental ecological role. It is a key pollinator in many Cuban ecosystems. Its tiny bill and ability to maneuver among very small flowers allow it to access nectar that other hummingbirds or insects cannot reach. While feeding, it transports pollen from one flower to another, facilitating the reproduction of various endemic plants and helping maintain the structure and functioning of entire plant communities. In several environments, especially semi-deciduous forests and coastal scrublands, its presence is essential for the persistence of certain specialized flowers. Even so, it is not exempt from threats. Its predators include praying mantises, spiders, wasps, some small birds of prey, and arboreal snakes. Conservation status. The International Union for Conservation of Nature classifies the Zunzuncido or bee hummingbird as near threatened. Its current population is estimated to reach, at most, around 65,000 individuals, a figure that, based on available trends, continues to decline. Among the main causes of this reduction are habitat loss and degradation driven by agricultural expansion, urbanization, and deforestation, along with the shrinking of coastal and swampy areas where it was once common. Added to this is the increasing fragmentation of the landscape, which limits access to floral resources essential for its survival. As a result, many localities where the species was abundant in the mid-20th century have now completely lost their populations. Etymology and taxonomic context. The species was originally described by Lembeye within the genus Ornithorhynchus, under the name Ornithorhynchus helenae. Later, various authors assigned it successively to the genera Philodike and Calypti, always maintaining the specific name helenae. It is currently recognized as Mellisuga helenae. The name of the genus, Mellisuga, comes from the Latin mel, honey, and sugera, to suck, referring directly to its feeding behavior. The specific name helenae, as already mentioned, honors Helena Booth, the wife of Gundlach's friend and collaborator, who supported his research during his stay in Cuba. Thus, the species is Helena's bee hummingbird. Its closest relative is the vervain hummingbird, Mellisuga minima, native to Jamaica, the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and some adjacent islands. It has also been recorded occasionally in Puerto Rico. The masterpiece of evolutionary miniaturization. The Zunzuncido is not only the smallest bird on the planet, it is the result of an extraordinary evolutionary process that pushed body miniaturization to the limit without losing efficiency. Every feature of its anatomy and physiology, from its skeletal structure to its accelerated metabolism, reflects millions of years of adaptation in an insular environment. Its tiny size is not just a curiosity, but a strategy that allows it to take advantage of floral resources too small for other hummingbirds and occupy highly specific ecological niches. To sustain this lifestyle, its heart beats at an extreme speed, and its metabolism is among the highest known. This is why it relies on nocturnal torpor, lowering its body temperature to avoid unsustainable energy expenditure. Even its characteristic flight, able to hover, fly backward, or ascend vertically, is based on unique modifications to the shoulder and wings, which function almost like biological propellers. Together, these adaptations make the zunzuncito much more than a rarity. It is evidence of how evolution can produce surprisingly sophisticated solutions in bodies that fit on the tip of a finger, reminding us that greatness in nature does not always depend on size. Protecting the zunzuncito means protecting a masterpiece of natural biological engineering. It means safeguarding a lineage that pushed miniaturization to the extreme and that, in its tiny scale, sustains essential ecological functions such as pollination. Each individual lost is one less spark in the Cuban forests, and a reminder of how fragile biodiversity can be when the ecosystems that sustain it begin to disappear. Caring for this species is, ultimately, caring for an unrepeatable evolutionary history. What do you think about this tiny giant of evolution? Leave your opinion in the comments and share this video with those who love biodiversity. That way you help this content reach more people who are curious about nature, you support the growth of the channel, and maybe even help protect these species. Subscribe and follow the Antropoceno channel for more simple and entertaining science. And remember, there are many other science and nature videos available on the channel. Take a look.